About ready to get started. I just had to stop like pretty quickly into the process because I'm so excited about that difference. Look at how gorgeous that is. I almost hate to like put paint on it. You know, I'd rather just like cover it up, you know, seal it up with something, leave it that. It's just beautiful. It's always interesting to me how when you start blasting some metal, pretty quickly some areas just look absolutely beautiful. And then other areas you think, man, if I keep on blasting it, maybe it'll look really good too. And it just doesn't. Now these little, I don't even know, spacers on the arms, in my case, are very rigid. And I found just the right size driver here to be able to push in and kind of force it through. I'm sure that it was much more supple when it was new. And I'm just gonna go for it here. I've got this blasted and prepped, some lacquer thinner to take all my fingerprints off of it. Just hanging it from my back porch here, and get a little black on there. Yeah, as long as you don't look too closely, it looks pretty good. Some drips. I mean, you'd think I didn't paint it if there weren't drips. That little guy going. More drips. I may not be trying to leave my chosen profession anytime soon to take up my life as a painter, but it's good enough for my purposes. Super ugly, but that's what grinding is for. So on this side, this spindle was not chewed up, and I'm able to get the wiper arm on the flat or divot that was created in the spindle there, and we can kind of see that, you know, this is the motion that we would expect out of it, so the orientation seems proper. Now over on this side, it was so badly chewed up, we had to build up some material there. And I'm basically just checking to make sure that the wiper arm will sit on this shaft where it needs to be. And we can see that's pretty much the motion that it should have. So that's looking pretty good to me. I think I'm basically done building up material on the shaft. Now it's time to start kind of putting this thing back together. Again, another situation where it doesn't have to be beautiful. You know, I just kind of polish these things up a little bit with the wire wheel. And as you can see, I obviously just held that with my hand to paint it. And just hanging it from my garage door. I'll do the same thing with this one. Just quick and dirty, get it done.
Now it's just time for the final inspection of each item as I assemble everything. You would think it would be pretty easy, as there aren't that many parts, but I was able to second guess myself a lot more than I thought I would. In my defense, there was about a 4-month gap between pulling the assembly out of the car and putting it back together. I also failed to go back and find my cleverly created disassembly videos, where I told myself things about which linkage arm was below the other. I couldn't be happier about my purchase of the Bentley manual. But in this case, it wasn't the golden ticket I had hoped for when it came to a detailed diagram. For that, I just wound up using ISP West's parts catalog images online.
So this process wasn't very cinematic, but the inner part of these bearings, you know, it was pretty nasty when I took it apart. Mostly it was nasty on the spindles, but you know, there's definitely some nastiness in here. So I just kind of sprayed some carb cleaner into them, capped one end with my finger, kind of filled the tube up a good ways, shoved the towel in and twist it, flip it over, you know, so it kind of holds the fluid up in there, you know, like it would have been coming, the paper towel would have been coming from the underside here and, you know, pushing that chemical up and then also, you know, having it sort of soak the towel as it goes. Did that on both sides, and once that was done and looking pretty decent, there was still a little bit of garbage remaining, so I just blew it out with some compressed air, and I don't know if you'll see, I mean, they look pretty good. So anyway, I'm happy with that. Using my leftover chemical carburetor cleaner to clean these little dudes up. Some of them look as bad as this. And they'll wind up looking, you know, like one of those probably. Now these little dudes I popped out, they've got a wider flange on one side than on the other. The other side pretty much gets torn up when you pull it out. And I'm sure that these are probably supposed to be somewhat supple or something, or, you know, at least not quite as rigid as they are now. But they go in this way with this wider flange to that side of the arm. Really just can't imagine how it happened, because I try to be extremely careful about these things, but somehow I am missing 2 of the 3. And, you know, they call them C-clips. As far as I'm concerned, it's an E-clip, because they do have ones that don't have this little dude here. So to me, that's an E-clip. But anyway, I digress. I need 3 of them. I've got 1. Gonna have to figure that out. Hopefully be able to find them local. So when I pulled this apart, there was only a wavy washer in between this spindle and the base of the bearing. Bentley manual does not show the same details that ISP West does. ISP West has it broken out, you know, by this grouping of year and this grouping of year, and they're a little bit different. And so I thought, well, you know, Bentley really missed the mark there. But, well, the reality is ISP West did too, because they show this washer as being both for here and also for between here and here. And that's just absolutely incorrect. It does not belong in here. The diameter would have to be much smaller to make sense on this spindle. But as I looked at this more, trying to find, okay, well, maybe I've got a washer I can use. And when I put the wavy washer in here and squeeze this spindle up into position, and I'll look right at the base here, you know what? There's not room for another washer to be able to get my clip on to this shaft. So I think they've all got it wrong. It's just the wavy washer in between the bearing shaft and the spindle base here. So that's kind of key. It's very important to know that before you just go, you know, killing yourself trying to make something work that can't work. Now the Bentley manual calls for universal grease on these spindle shafts, and I think, well, this is what I use universally for grease, so that's what's going to get put into here. And this looks real sloppy right now, and it's heading in that direction pretty easily, but I am going to put a fair bit of effort into getting this done well. And what I mean by done well is, if you look at this spindle, it is a smaller diameter in here than it is here. And so, you know, these are actually the bearing surfaces, right? These are going to make contact with the inside of the bearing shaft here. This will not. But what it does do is it provides an opportunity to hold a surplus of grease, and hopefully the effort will be worthwhile. You know, we can already see a lot of this getting shoved. So I'm just gonna see if there's any way to kind of help it stay. I feel like we're losing an awful lot already. Not much stays in there. Not much. Hey, kitty cat, what's happening, buddy? You want to come over and say hi to the camera? Kitty cat, buddy? Come on over, bud. Kitty, 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 kitty. No? Okay, all right, cool. I mean, that's an easy thing to lose if you're not, you know, being careful. So anyway, these little clips here that go on the top of the shaft, they just have a little split right here. I believe that they're going to be pretty easy to get on. They're like pretty much the hardest thing in the world to get off. All right, so we're just going to set this down, and really I think I can just kind of walk it down with my fingernails here. Just want to make sure it doesn't like spring up and off, you know, and like go flying to the winds of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse or something. I'm not sure what that would be exactly, but you know, something. It might go somewhere where I can't ever find them again. There we go. Boy, would you look at that. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Oh, it's just going to be like magic. I cannot wait. So at this point, I'm not even worrying about pushing up on the spindle. I'm just getting it down onto that shaft. Now I can push up, get my fingernail in here, and you know, if I had no fingernails at all, I could use a real small flat blade screwdriver, and that would probably do the trick real well too. Oh, so silky smooth. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It is that time. And this is the play where I bring in my MVP, Mr. Silicone Spray, to just make my life so much simpler than it could be. God, it's so lovely. Just gonna shove this dude into here, and everything's gonna be wonderful and amazing. So as you can see here, we've got this sort of channel that just fits around the perfect little circular hole in the sheet metal that it's going through. Then my bearing shaft will push up through that. All right, we're almost there. My hair! Those kids are crazy. All right, went ahead and pulled the glove box and the ashtray because I decided it's necessary. And I went ahead and pulled this guy out because, let's face it, I'm never going to try to use it, and even if I did, the results wouldn't be great. So get that out of there. It just gets in the way anyway. I was very happy to find that my local True Value had metric E-rings on hand. So didn't have to wait for an Amazon delivery to come on the day that I will be gone. The only real challenge is just trying to make sure I get it on camera. You know, until that happens. Let's come at it from the side instead. I usually like that result better. Hey, would you look at that? So easy. You get the idea. All right. She's all ready. Now I can get back to what I started. You just kind of need to get your angle good. There's nothing especially tricky about it. And I just, you know, they don't want to just necessarily push right up through really easily, so you kind of have to wiggle them, and there we go. That one went in just fine. The other side might be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but I'm going to go ahead and start this screw down here to hold the motor bracket against the front wall here. Just enough to hold it so it doesn't try to yank the whole thing down when I go outside to get a nut started out there. Now, just kind of get these started carefully so as not to push them through. Again, washers are directional, especially when they're stamped, which is, you know, basically every washer that you ever find for the most part. If you don't know what I mean when I say washers are directional, it's just a silly thing I'm saying. Ask. I will tell you. I've gone into it in other videos. I won't do it here now.
Ah, that was money well spent.
Beauty, eh? Instead of splines for the wiper arm to fit down over and lock into position, we have a flat spot, or in this case, what looks to be almost like a perpendicular drill tip, almost like a cup shape in the side of it. And when you put your wiper arm over it, you've got this lovely grub screw tightens down, and that's what holds your axial position. And man, if you're rebuilding the flat spot into your spindle the way I had to, or shaft, or whatever you want to call it, it's not as easy as it seems like it might be to, you know, have that final resting place be exactly where you want it to be. I was struggling to get it down where it is now. You know, it wound up wanting to be kind of up here. And then, of course, you know, as you angle out, it's, you know, further up, right? But I like where that one is. And fortunately, this shaft, I didn't need to build it back up into a cylinder and then grind a new spot into it. It's fine just like it is. The only problem is the garbage screws that came with these new wiper arms that just break, and then you need to try to pull them out. But at that point, that soft metal has already mushroomed from being clamped down onto your shaft to the point where it doesn't want to come back out of the threads. I've welded onto this screw twice already and managed to get it further into the threaded hole. And I'm going to try it again because I'd really rather not drill it out.
Needless to say, additional efforts were made and only left me more frustrated. Ultimately, I found solace in the fact that I still had the ridiculous wiper that came on the car. It kind of did okay for a while too, until I found myself in a pretty insane downpour coming home from Springfield one day.
Dude, this is no joke, man. And I lost my right windshield wiper, but this is the one that's important, so we're still moving. It's not often this car sees any kind of water at all, but it saw some today. And water's coming in from right there, which translates to right here. And I'm going to use my favorite weather stripping method.
I know I'm pretty needy.
To get
Maybe
by.
you could take just a second and hit that
And
thumbs
look around
up
to see if I
button.
find any more.
Or even the thumbs down for that case. Sometimes I wonder if that helps more.
So fantastic. After developing a means of keeping the water off my windshield, I was noticing a few places where water was getting inside the vehicle and decided to see what I could do about that. I don't know. We'll just see how that works. I'm gonna take the roll with me on my trip in case I need to find and try to resolve other issues. You might think it's a little bit ridiculous, but you know, when you see water dripping from the wires on your fuse box, it's a little uncomfortable. So I thought I would make some efforts.
Well, that's about all for this time. As always, thanks for watching.